Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the October 28th regular meeting of council, and I'd like to order at 4 p.m. Councillor Eagle-Horn, please read the land acknowledgement.
Yes, so I'd like to acknowledge the rural municipality of St. Andrews is located on Treaty One territory, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis. We respect the spirit and intent of treaties and treaty making and remain committed to working in partnership with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and collaboration.
Thank you. Adoption of the agenda. Be it resolved that council adopt the agenda as presented or amended with the addition of following items. We have no.
I got something, Mayor.
Okay,
I'd like to have 13.1 out of camera. My September 17th email to both you and the CEO, I had asked for information and about the speed on this road from the soccer complex, as well as an update on the fields. And I was told on September 19th, I followed up September 19th, I was told again that I wanted that out of camera and that there would be something coming at the Cal meeting. Cal meeting came and went, and there was something about the speed, but there was nothing about an update on the fields itself. So I've got a couple people asking about what's happening with municipal fields, as well as why AK Soccer is pushing out past their 10-acre allotment from council approval.
Yeah, Madam Mayor,
yes.
we talked about stop signs and we talked about traffic on this
We
road.
did.
I'd like to keep it in camera because we're talking about a bylaw issue.
Okay.
And keep it in camera, but we can report about it when we come out of camera.
Fair enough.
So we can say what took place. Does
Fair
that work for you?
Yep, that's fine with me.
Okay, so you're good with the
I'm good.
agenda as presented? Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Slaker, seconder. Deputy Mayor Marecki, all those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. Next item, adoption of the minutes. Be it resolved the council adopt the October 14th, 2025 council meetings minutes as presented. Should I have a mover, please? Councillor Feeble-Corn, seconder. Councillor Slaker, any errors or omissions? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor? Councillor Mondor, your vote?
Yes.
That is unanimous, it is carried. Draft October 20th Committee of the Whole minutes. Be it resolved that council received the October 20th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes as presented. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Mondor, seconded by Councillor Slaker. Any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. Next item is reception of delegations. Bruno Drain Catchment Study presentation by Braden Bennett, our Planning and Economic Development talks. Please proceed, Braden.
Thank you. Just gotta flip the camera around. Share my screen here. You see that okay? Very good. Okay, good evening, council. So we've received the final report. Turn this on here. We've received the final report from our consultant. And I just have to start by saying I was very impressed with the final product and the deliverables that RJ Burnside provided. My goal tonight is to provide you with a high-level overview of the Bruno catchment area drainage study that was prepared by RJ Burnside and Associates, summarize their findings by illustrating the current flood conditions, touch on the recommendations, and explain how all of this can form the basis of a proposed development moratorium within areas of catchment. And I'll preface by saying I am by no means a stormwater engineer, but I will do my best to summarize the findings of the report in a simple enough to understand format. But just due to the nature of the report, we're going to get a little bit technical. So if there's any questions or there's any clarifications, please stop me at any point. Just quickly scroll through the first few pages here, table of contents. I will add that the final report was just about 500 pages long. The report itself is 53, with a lot of that being in appendices, being previous reports from Stantec, studies that were previously done by the provincial government, federal government, information from the RM such as service tracker requests, survey data, flood data from the past, etc., as well as some other appendices that I've brought with me tonight to share. Okay, let's get into it. So the Bruno catchment covers roughly 2,275 hectares. That's 5,600 acres in the Arm of St. Andrews. The Bruno drain flows south through the center of this catchment into Parks Creek at McPhillips Street, as can be seen on the map on this page here. And I will zoom in a little bit so we can get a good look at that. Go. The catchment is mostly rural and agricultural, with two main drainage jurisdictions. The southwest portion on this side being maintained by Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure, while the northeast portion is maintained by the RM. The drain and the catchment overall are very flat, with an average slope of less than 0.5%, which does, of course, contribute to ongoing drainage challenges in the area. Now, the study, which was awarded to RJ Burnside last year, November 12th, 2024, was commissioned to model existing hydrologic and hydraulic conditions, identify drainage issues and flood-prone areas, to evaluate potential solutions, including cost estimates, and to provide mapping to help guide the RM for future development moratorium within the flood-prone areas. Just going to quickly jump ahead here, and feel free to follow along either on the screen or with the report in your agenda. We're going to be jumping through some sections here. Existing conditions. So the study confirms that the Bruno drain catchment is very flat, limiting how efficiently water can flow throughout the area. The drain currently operates beyond capacity, even for a 2-year storm event, meaning that regular overland flooding will continue to occur until improvements can be made. Key issues of the catchment include limited slope in the main channel, being less than 0.5%, which does restrict the flow. Insufficient floodplain storage along the drain corridor, that being there's not enough capacity in the drain itself, so it will spill out into other areas. And inconsistent culvert sizes at various crossings, which creates bottleneck at certain intersections with certain municipal roads or agricultural crossings, which creates localized flooding in certain areas. Now, the map on the screen, let me just quickly pull this up here. I'm going to cut out the bottom section just a little bit. So the map on the screen further breaks down the catchment area into sub-catchments, all itemized here, B4, B7, B8, each independently contributing to the overall Bruno catchment itself. This light gray blue area here is of special note. This sub-catchment typically drains into the Long Lake drain catchment heading north. However, during extreme flood events, that being 1 in 100 year plus or greater flood events, Amber Road along the south portion here is overtopped with flooding, and then all of this water would then also contribute to the Bruno drain catchment, furthering the issue during very severe stormwater events. So based on the information that was provided, obtained via topographic surveys by the consultant, modeled in their stormwater software, and then further analyzed by the consultant, this incredibly detailed map was prepared. I would have put it up on the screen, but the file size is too large. So I encourage council, if they want to come up and take a closer look, feel free to do so. And we'll touch a little bit on the map later on in the presentation, but this shows the overall catchment area bounded by the cyan line here. And then we'll talk about these lines in a minute. So specifically, this LiDAR map shows the high and low elevation areas of the catchment, and then further illustrates the areas that are most vulnerable to flooding at both the 5 and 10 year marks. And again, I'll touch on this as we get a little bit further into the presentation here. So the consultant had prepared 5 potential solutions with escalating levels of service, complete with detailed cost estimates for solutions 1 and 3, which I do have for you as part of the appendices to share for this report. So before I get any further, I may as well distribute that really quickly. Got a copy for each of you. Hold it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Copies for you, if you're interested. I won't get into the exact details of each solution, but I'm going to touch on each of them. So solution one focused on channel and culvert upgrades. This solution would reduce flooding throughout most of the sections of the drain and catchment during 2-year storm events, but not all. So flooding would remain a consistent and recurring problem if this solution was proceeded with.
So solution one is 306,590, or is this is, oh, it still continues. Okay, so I read higher numbers on those.
Yeah, specifically, I believe the number there with a contingency of 1,245,252. And I guess before, while we're talking about the numbers here, that assumes that we are, of course, contracting that work out based on current rates for machine hours, estimated fill, required culvert upgrades, all of which we do carry some culverts in our yard. Some of this work could be self-performed. So this is just a rough figure. If we were to contract that number out, what could council expect to budget for something like that?
So Ernie, that this is only for the 2-year.
That's for solution one. Yeah. Prices will increase as we keep going.
Of course.
Yes. Solution two focused on similarly channel and culvert upgrades, but also considered road elevation improvements and offline being stormwater retention facilities that land on lands that the municipality owns nearby the drain, all of which are very, very small. Not necessarily efficient, but still to be considered. So similar to solution one, the addition of raising the elevations of Poplar Avenue, Bay Road, List Road, and various agricultural crossings throughout would see flooding eliminated up to 5-year storm events. Still would be a generally recurring issue, but with this, that's another potential solution to consider. Solution three, and this is being the preferred solution for a number of reasons, consists of channel and culvert upgrades with major berming and road elevation improvements. So very similar to solution two, however, this option forgoes the storage retention facilities and instead incorporates major berming works along the roughly 45 kilometers of drain. So it would involve flat bottoming the drain, increasing the capacity, proper slopes, and then further increasing the capacity with essentially 90 kilometers of berming, 45 on each side, to further increase the capacity. This also increases, it reduces flooding up to the 5-year storm event. But the reason it's the preferred solution in this case is because it could be incorporated with some of the other options, including an offline storage facility to complement this. So it focuses purely on the drain itself, which helps convey the water.
And that would, so that would include like a retention pond.
Yes, so solution three doesn't include any retention ponds, unlike solutions 2, 4, and 5. But you can include that into it to help further increase the flood protection. So solution three focuses purely on Bruno Drain itself, improving the capacity of the drain.
Thank you.
Solution 4 focused on channel and culvert upgrades, in addition to the major berming, road elevation improvements, and offline storage facilities. So this is essentially options 2 and 3 combined. This would eliminate flooding up to the 10-year storm events with minor overtopping at 4 locations, notably List Road and Porcher Roads. So they did include raising the elevations there of the gravel base to help accommodate that. But during major storm events, you could expect small overtopping across the roads unless the road was substantially built up. And lastly, solution 5. So this, of course, is the most comprehensive mitigation strategy and solution that the consultant provided. It incorporates solutions from all of the other options, plus land acquisition of specific identified properties to be used for those storage facilities. So in the previous options, it utilized land that the ARM owned. Some of them are very small, 3 acres, 2 acres. Some of them are a fraction of an acre, not necessarily conducive to stormwater retention ponds. This one would see us acquiring land that's essentially private property. And I'll touch on the cost estimate piece for that, why there isn't an inclusion, but This one would essentially eliminate flooding up to the 25-year storm event with the same 4 locations that are prone to overtopping that we just talked about. This, of course, this option would see the RM to acquire specific private properties adjacent to the Bruno Drain for those storage retention facilities. Now, before we go any further, all of these solutions assume that all the elements work together. So removing one component of a solution, of course, reduces the effectiveness. So the consultant was very clear, you need to go with, if you're going with a recommendation, it has to be all encompassing of what was prescribed there. Otherwise, the results could differ. Solution 3 was determined as the preferred option, balancing cost, constructability, and effectiveness with potential for additional measures in the future as this solution focuses only on the channel itself. So just like we talked about, you could include retention ponds with solution 3. And further to solution 3, as that was the preferred solution, the consultant prepared a high-level construct and staging plan here, broken down into 7 stages, moving sequentially from upstream of the drain downstream. And key considerations for this staging plan included starting the berm construction upstream right at the beginning, coordinating culvert upgrades with the berm construction, and then advancing the berms sequentially between road sections. So this goes Bruno Drain to Donald Road, Donald Church, etc. Working in segments. So solution 3 effectively mitigates flooding for both the 2 and 5-year storm events and allows for future expansion in the form of stormwater retention ponds and facilities as acquired or required by the municipality. If proceeded with in the future, detailed design drawings would be required to follow, including grading plans, culvert specifications, although the consultant has identified what proposed size of culverts, where they would go, what would be replaced, etc. already. They would need to be shown on those plans, of course. A drainage license with the province is highly recommended as the work directly affects their portion of the catchment downstream. So I would, of course, 100% recommend that we include the province in any proposed works in this catchment, no matter the solution, they need to be involved with that.
Has anybody talked to the province? Because this water ultimately ends up going to Parks Creek.
Right.
And that's been a major contentious issue that has been cleaned in 50 years.
The consultant had discussed all of this with Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure. They were involved in discussions. And in fact, all of these solutions indicate that the capacity on Bruno Drain on the opposite side of Highway 8 significantly more developed than our portion of Bruno Drain. So you have a very deep trench or drain, we'll call it, with additional berming on both sides. Everything west of Highway 8 can handle all of these solutions. The amount of water that will get displaced from our side to theirs will increase, but their infrastructure is already capable of handling all of that. Development moratorium. So most importantly, this study confirms that the Bruno Drain cannot currently handle a 2-year storm or greater. We've had luck with the past 2 years where it's been relatively minor flooding, but essentially based on statistics, we could expect every other year there will be flood overtopping outside of the drain. We've seen that already. Flooding is inevitable unless improvements can be made. So getting back to this map that's in front of you, it indicates the 5-year flood extent, which is the blue highlighted dotted area showing different deep colors of blue indicating where the deepest portions of water would be in those areas. A 30-meter or 100-foot buffer from that 5-year, which is the green lined area, and the 10-year flood line, which is the red lined area, significantly different in some areas. So you can see how it stretches out further. The proposed moratorium would restrict new development entirely within that 5-year flood extent, being the blue area, with development in the 30-meter buffer and 10-year flood line only considered under strict conditions. However, given the fact that the Bruno Drain is already operating beyond its capacity, it would be my recommendation to further restrict development in the greater of all of those areas on the map. From a risk management perspective, it would just be prudent to err on the side of caution until we can actually fix the problem. An alternative approach was identified by the consultant, which would require developers, landowners, whoever is developing their property to achieve 100-year post-development flows. That was considered by the consultant, but largely speaking, it would be cost prohibitive for most. It would be not unreasonable, but if someone's gonna develop their property to come up with a stormwater management plan that would restrict flows to the 100-year storm event there's a huge cost to that. And for what's largely an agricultural area, it just doesn't seem conducive to that. But it's included in the report, and I wanted to mention it just for council's consideration that we could also consider that as well. Basically, that would be one of the stringent conditions if you wanted to. At a bare minimum, any development outside of the restricted zones on the map here, but within the catchment overall, being the blue highlighted area outlining the entire catchment, must control post-development flows to pre-development rates by stormwater management plans. We do that already for most of our subdivisions, especially in areas like this. But also additional requirements, including finished floor elevation requirements, floodproofing levels, and adequate freeboard being 2 to 3 feet minimum above those flood levels. And to clarify, what I'm recommending here for the proposed moratorium would restrict any further development of properties located within the greater extents of the green and red lines as shown on the map here. Anything outside of those areas would require more stringent engineering designs. So in closing, this study makes it clear that the Bruno Drain is operating well beyond capacity already, and that flooding is unavoidable under our current conditions. So the consultant's work does give us practical roadmaps and solutions that we could adopt and or follow in the future, while also guiding how we can manage new development responsibly. In addition, by adopting the study, it may help for future grant acquisition or partnerships with the province. They'd like to see this study, I'm sure of it, if we were applying for a drainage license to help support the reasoning behind the work that we're going to do. And if we want to go back at any point, or if there's any questions, I'm definitely happy to answer, discuss.
Well, I do know Rockwood has, West House, their council has always wanted to partner with us. Because we ended up and ultimately their water all comes our way, and now they got big development in Rockwood and Stony Mountain. We're just gonna keep getting more and more water. And they've been more than willing for years to partner up on drainage.
Yeah, this is one of the larger drains, of course, in the municipality. Very huge area that encompasses. Would be open to partnerships. I don't know how much of Rockwood's water specifically goes to this catchment. That, of course, wasn't identified as part of our catchment area in St. Andrews, but unbeknownst to me, they are focusing the study purely in St. Andrews, right? The catchment that it shows. But from what I understand, yes, water does make its way here.
Ducks Unlimited, Oak Hammock.
Yeah, that's, that's correct, but what happens is it stops at Parks Creek. And I don't see Parks Creek interacting with this development.
No, that's correct. Bruno Drain makes its way to Parks Creek. So
Right.
Oak Hammock would drain south. You can do some aerial diagrams. Parks Creek goes south from Oak Hammock Marsh, and Bruno Drain goes southwest. And then they link up. Bruno Drain fills into Parks Creek. It goes along all that agricultural property throughout South St. Andrews, where it does a little bit of winding, and then into the Red River. So eventually, all of the water from Rockwood that's being conveyed into that will meet up with the water that comes from this, but that's meeting up in provincial infrastructure. I understand we had to clean out Parks Creek not too long ago. Yeah, so that would have helped slightly improve that water that we take from Rockwood.
Councillor Dornbos, you had your hand.
Yeah, I did. In your experience, would the province team up with some of these costs like grants wise or anything like that, or is that?
We'd have to really ask, because when we had the meeting about 8 and 67, the deputy minister just said there's so many issues with drainage, like through the whole province.
Manitoba is relatively flat, so drainage is a concern just about everywhere, but you definitely, I'm sure they'd be open to partnering. Whether the funding is there, however, is a different question, year by year basis.
Councillor Hunt?
So as always, starting at the bottom of the hill works the best actually, but so we do all this work, which, your Parks Creek is still gonna be a bottleneck.
So it was identified in here that the Bruno Drain catchment piece can handle it. The study did not focus on Parks Creek, right? My understanding, Parks Creek is significantly larger than the Bruno Drain portion that we have. This would have to be reviewed and approved by the province of any work to see if their specific infrastructure can handle what we're proposing to convey that way.
So with a study like that, if Parks Creek catchment area of that area had some areas in it that are bottlenecks, if that was, work was done to that, would that help out the Bruno drain.
Potentially, yeah, because there are certain years where Parks Creek is right at capacity. Bruno drain, right at capacity. Where does that water go? It will just further back
I
out.
don't know where.
Can't go anywhere. This
So,
could, in theory, it could develop into something greater than just the Bruno Drain catchment. It also could be the Bruno Drain and the Parks Creek. I'm just theorizing here, but that is definitely a possibility.
Yeah, I just remember like maybe comes around years ago, when we had John Arthur, he walked the whole Parks Creek.
Mhm.
And then was told we couldn't do it because it was on private property. But there was old stills uncovered tree trunks across, like it desperately needed.
I can attest to that because I surveyed it myself.
Oh, there
2021.
you go.
When I was in public works, I had the pleasure of surveying that. And yeah, there was old bathtubs, beaver dams, old septic tanks, holding tanks, I should say, that were just scattered about in there. Yeah,
But it was Parks Creek, not plain west in West St. Paul side, west of number 8, Ormond Phillips. Was there some kind of drainage big project up there?
That was Grassmere Creek.
Grass.
Parks Creek is the boundary between the two municipalities, St. Andrews and West St. Paul.
actually, there's 3 houses on the south side of Parks Creek in St. Andrews on number 9.
That actually, yeah, that's
Anyway.
correct. Yeah, Parks Creek Drive, but Highway 9. Yeah,
Um,
you are right. Yeah.
Is there any way with these solutions of like starting solutions, like, I don't know, going back to numbers, but doing solution 1, you know, and then turning it into solution 2, you know, so you're not to see what the progress you're doing, like you say, there is areas of bottlenecks on and on and on, and Parks Creek and that, but
Yeah, so solution 1 is essentially the bare minimum that the Army could do right now to improve the drain. That is flat bottoming out the drain, making it so in some areas it's just a V ditch or a V drain where
Right.
there is no capacity at the bottom. So by increasing that to 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters in certain areas where we have more land, more, road right of way, I should say, for the drain, we could increase the capacity. At the same time, replace the culverts that are either rusted, rotten, or undersized in certain areas that create those bottlenecks. But then at the same time, I'd say if we're doing the project at the same time you're excavating, you've got that fill, you could use that to incorporate it, which is solution 3, to use them as berms too. They note that under solution 3, most of the excavation would start right at the beginning of the drain. That's why they would work north to south. You've got more fill to utilize for that berm construction as you make your way down. However, yeah, you could begin with 1 and then.
yeah. I don't like starting at the beginning of the drain.
I brought that up with the consultant too. If you make improvements at the
Doesn't make
beginning,
sense.
if you make improvements at the beginning and then you don't finish the whole project, you could have negative effects downstream.
Very negative, yeah.
Yeah, so it would have to be well timed, like a very specified project that has to be completed within a certain time frame. They have that staging there, which I appreciate, but who knows what the following year might look like if you're half done the project, right?
Deputy Reverend, the province did from 67.
That would be
On site,
right, 2 months.
is that was the Bruno drain? Or what was that?
It would be before Bruno Drain goes up with it.
Or what was the name that they did? Was that,
That was Parks Creek.
no? It was the one that ran off 67.
Oh.
And then they said the province cleaned it, that was 2-3 years ago,
Long Lake Drain. So,
but they didn't go far enough south.
Bruno Drain and Long Lake Drain both start roughly around the same location, which is at one of the bends in Marecki Road, right by a private residence.
Yes.
It's the ditch, right of way along Marecki Road, but it doesn't officially start until the south side of Donald Road. Long Lake Drain, on the other hand, starts at that bend in Marecki where there are 2 culverts, goes through a field and then heads north. That's kind of we'll say the cliff where it goes north, south in 2 different areas. And that was that one subcatchment north of Amber Road that could spill into this catchment, but is normally part of Long Lake Drain.
Well, this has been an issue, council has to do something, like, this has been an issue, can't develop there, like, nothing. Counselor
Just curious, how many properties does this affect in that zone?
You know, I wish I had an exact number. Depending on certain years, the number could be very much larger if we use a 25-year flood mark. For the 10-year, I was counting earlier, I believe it was about 20 homesteads. It's not the biggest number, but at the same time, they are existing residents of St. Andrews.
And do we know how many insurance claims that have been over the?
I don't know that number,
Okay.
but we do have service tracker requests,
Okay.
and they do correlate exactly to the areas that we see flooding, being Liss Road, Donald Road, and Poplar Road. We have a question at the back.
Just kind of a response, that might be hard to gauge, as a lot of insurance companies don't always offer that, or haven't offered. Up until recently, overland flood insurance, it was very hard to get in Manitoba, and there are starting to come out now, but you really have to look to see if that option is available through your insurance provider. The more likelihood of you finding something is possibly through DFA information at Manitoba EMO. That might be more of the place to look for that. Or historical data anyway.
What I would think, like Caribbean Bay, it's hundreds of homes that affects Lockport Road alone.
Like the catchment itself, if we're talking the catchment itself, it's hundreds of homes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Specifically, the areas identified here, there are, hundreds of properties, but how many homesteads and residences are we talking? A handful, but still, they're already there, and we get calls every year about them, right? It's a recurring issue for Public Works to assist with flooding when needs.
Because Councillor Beaver, well, I was Councillor Marac, that area is support 2-4. When I first got elected, they were kayaking, canoeing in their yard. It was bad. It was just lakes. The whole thing was on. That's the bowl of the RF.
One of them, yeah, we have a few. I'll leave this map up. I understand we have an RFD later on the agenda to adopt. We can come up, take a closer look if we want to have more discussion at that time, but if there's any other questions.
Council, any questions? Excellent, thank you.
Great. I'll flip the camera back around and then get back into it. Okay. You don't need to wait for me. You're good to keep
Oh, we're
going.
good?
Yeah. you're good.
Okay, thank you. Next item is, thank you so much for this, Greg. Council reports. Thank you, council, for all your reports. Are there any questions? If I could, Councillor Hunt, again, there's no detail to any of your report. Just 3 things.
No comment. These are external committee reports.
Yes.
Okay.
So you've read
and what
everybody
about-
else's, they'll provide.
Yeah, and what about yours though? I didn't know the Cozy Fox was an external committee.
I report on what are the 10.
These are external committees reports.
Well, Councillor Monder reports on council meetings, which is an external committee.
That's not necessary though.
Well, it's in our bylaws that we unanimously passed that each member of council is to provide council with information concerning issues arising with respect.
It's a lot more necessary when some councillors aren't at. The ones I was at, there was other councillors there as well. So don't start with me, okay?
But this is
Because-
also the public reports. They're interested, this is for your residents to see, and it's good to.
They know
have
my
their-
phone number. Again, external committees, dropped in a Clan Tea isn't a committee. You're the mayor, not the queen, okay?
Well, thank you for reading my report
Yeah.
in detail.
Yeah,
It's just that every other council member is able to break
Great.
down,
Great.
comments. A date and a title doesn't provide council share any information with council member.
Good.
Plus, it's a breach of the bylaw.
Thank you. Move on, please.
Bylaws and policy, bylaw number 4425, burning bylaw, first reading. Be it resolved that council give first reading to bylaw number 4425, being a bylaw to control open fires as presented. To put this on the table, could I have a mover, please? Counselor Dornbos, seconded by Deputy Mayor Marecki. Jordan is here from Protective Services. Did you want to speak on this matter?
And unless there's any questions, it's pretty straightforward. All I've added here is a couple definitions, and I've changed the biggest one to the open air fires so that it reflects more accurately with where we're headed with this. And then the other big piece is at the end with the fire restrictions, and those fire restrictions then give us a little bit more flexibility than dealing with either we're in no ban or a ban, and it provides the residents a little more options when fire season starts to intensify and the conditions worsen, so that they're not just going from black and white. There's a gray in it.
Yeah, as council member, have they all read the bylaw? Any questions? Counselor
A
Don?
statement, just a little bit of a statement here. I always get kind of confused on the open air fire, because when you go down into the bylaw in the red there, it says fires are allowed in approved receptacles, which is fine, but open air fires are allowed in the appropriate zone. However, any person who wishes to cause an open air fire shall contact the Arm of St. Andrews about paying a burn permit. I can see this burn permit thing becoming I can't have a fire in my backyard. I can't have anything like that. So I don't know if there's any way that we can make it clear what an actual open air fire is. I know it's kind of hard because I understand what you're saying, George, but I'm thinking about someone else who's just gonna read this bylaw real quick and say, oh my goodness, I gotta have a permit to have my friends over and have a bonfire, you know?
But before that, it just stated outdoor fire.
I know, and I'm not trying to be picky. I'm
No,
just
no.
saying sometimes it can be a little bit confusing if it's not already addressed at the very beginning. An open air fire is specifically a fire that's not in an approved receptacle. I don't know.
It is also my intention with regards to this, to also have like an information package for residents. So maybe that can be addressed in that information package. And that would be something that we set kind of on the website when we're talking about the burn restrictions and all that kind of stuff. That will also be available for them. I have right now like a whole procedural document set out that I want to use a lot of that information. And that's kind of how we determine when we go into fire restrictions and when we go to bans, just to provide them with information. And it's not just a couple of us sitting around going, yeah, that's something we should do. It really, provides kind of the science to it. So if we want, I can determine a way of doing that inside the bylaw or have that as part of that information package for residents.
I like what you did. It's clear. I can just see a confusion happening, and that's just how I see that. Not to be picky.
No.
I agree with Councilor Dornbach. I think it should be, I like what you're saying, that's nice to have that on the thing, but the bylaws need to be ironclad because somebody will figure out something out.
Any other questions? Be it resolved that council give first reading to bylaw number 4425, being a bylaw to control open fires as presented. Could I have a mover, please? Councilor Dornbos, sorry, I had Deputy Mayor Marecki was second, that's you already. All those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. Approval of accounts. Be it resolved that council approves the October 24th, 2025 check detail report as presented. Could I have a mover, please? Councilor Sliker, seconder.
I just want to speak on it after
Okay.
a second.
Councilor Feeblecorn. Brent, go ahead, please.
I just want to point out to council, we've implemented a new online PO system and it's picking up some descriptions from the online PO system, and the director of finance and I are dealing with that with the staff. But check 80590 talks about dozer rental for the AK site. The dozer rental wasn't for the AK site, it was for the site adjacent. Check number 80563, it said WCB late fee. It wasn't a late fee, it was actually a rebate for the RM. Check 80619, water side, it said service for Parkview Point, Tim Hortons. This was the soil and clay that we bought from that site and moved to our recreation site. So This is for the RM, not the base, soccer. So that description's not necessarily matching what actually happened. And check 806, a small one, 80611 Selkirk Biz, it said it was for gift bags. And it wasn't for gift bags, we were sponsoring a part of the event.
That was the, we sponsored the report.
Yeah, so I just wanted to be clear for that, people listening, that the descriptions are going to be, they were automatically picking up stuff from the invoices, and we're dealing with that.
That's just like her.
I just want to say thank you, because I did have a resident call me about the Tim Hortons 105,000, so I did send an email to Carrie this afternoon, so thank you for clarifying that. And just so the resident knows that it was looked at, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Brent. And Carrie for sorting that. Okay, we've got a mover seconder, all those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. Next item, 8.2, September 30th, 2025 financial statements. Does anybody have any questions or comments? I do. Carrie, on page 13 of 16, expense, recycling expense, that we budgeted 2025, $423,023. Actual as at September 30th is 198. Did we over budget that much on that?
When I was speaking with Peter, he said that the recycling expense is being tracked. And we're up to date with Waste Connections, but the actual should come in closer to 80%, and 80% would be $338,000. So we're trending to be about 20% less than budgeted. So yes, we did budget a little bit higher than expected, but I think that there are some buffers in there that were in the utility budget that Peter and I have been discussing. We've noticed that in a couple different places, so we'll be revising that for next year's budget to ensure that we're not that much over.
Oh, wonderful, thanks. And we do get that rebate check from multi-stewardship.
We do as well, but we are now reporting that as other income, not as a rebate. In the accounting standards, rebates have to be classified as income.
Oh, okay, thank you. Councillor Steiger.
I had one, just a question. We have something listed here, police truck. And we've actually spent $3,130.31. Where do we have a police truck?
What page are you referring to?
Yeah, what
What's
account
the
are you
page
referring to?
number?
N-3300-397.
What page number?
11.
At the top of the page. Okay.
330-396, he said, oh, police truck. Let me just put that in. I know that there's a lot of descriptions that are put in the assets here that Trevor and I have been discussing. I don't think it's a police truck that that was noted. I know that we have all of these items are actually public works trucks. So I think that that's one of the public works trucks that we need to change the description on appropriately. It was probably listed as police truck from years ago.
Could that be the old
Never-
bylaw truck?
Pardon me, the old bylaw, it could be the old bylaw truck. Yeah, so it's not accurately.
Okay, just
listed.
checking. Thank you.
So we will be revising that. We're implementing with the asset management, a new asset costing system and also a new numbering system, so that we will not have these weird accounts sitting here next year.
Wonderful, can't wait. Thank you very much.
Okay, council members, any further questions? Okay, thanks so much, Carrie. And again, we appreciate, we know you've all got the job to
Thank
do.
you.
Next item, correspondence for action. Be it resolved that be authorized to attend the Red River Basin Commission's International Land and Water Summit Conference, which is being held January 13th to the 15th, 2026 in Winnipeg. Who would like to be attending that? Counselor Mondor. Anyone else? Okay, so then be it resolved, Council Mondor be authorized to attend. Could I have a mover, please? Counselor Dornbos, seconded by Counselor Schleicher. All those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. Selkirk Legion Remembrance Day, be it resolved that Mayor Sewell be authorized to attend the Selkirk Legion's Remembrance Day service being held November 11th, 2025 in Selkirk. Can I have a mover, please? Counselor Dornbos, seconder. Counselor Mondor.
I have a question.
Yes, Counselor.
I thought when we first read all the things, the Legion it's an automatic given. I'm not sure why it's on there. We don't get paid to attend it and we don't.
Well, it's also because we've always had a resolution for it. I know I don't charge for it.
We don't really need one though, because it's right in our bylaw that you.
Yeah, but this is also information for council to attend as well. You don't need information that this is going on. And everybody's welcome to attend.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. John Q. AGM. Be it resolved that you're authorized to attend the John Q. Annual General Meeting being held November 19th from 8:30 AM to 12 noon Winnipeg. Who would like to attend? Well, that will be Councillor Schleicher will be attending. Anyone else? Okay. Because actually that does, when we go to that, there was that last one, the rail line thing. That's over half a day. Everybody charges $302. I don't know, it's not out yet. In October, deputies aren't due yet. That costs, when a number of us go, you're our rep, that's over $1,000 to attend this. And just so everybody knows, Rockwood pulled out. They passed a resolution. They moved.
And we
They
had
removed
informed
themselves.
council of all that already. We all talked about that.
Oh, that I know of. I heard about it this morning.
No,
Rockwood pulled it.
Yeah.
Of John Q.
we announced we had that conversation in camera.
There was nothing in camera about
Yeah,
John Q.
Mr. Murphy was the mayor that day.
Well, this just happened a week and a half ago.
No, they've been out for a
Rockwood
few
pulled out a
months,
month ago.
couple months
Oh.
ago.
So I was told just within the last 2 weeks.
Nope. And I came to council and told everybody that.
Oh, because it wasn't in an open meeting. Okay, Councillor Schleicher's
But going
attending.
back to your point though about indemnities though, so it costs $1,000 to go to something and isn't gonna make millions, like what's your point with that comment?
Well, so far, where's our dividend back? I was on there, that started in
I know which.
2016. We were supposed, that was started with taxpayer dollars, 7,500. And we were supposed to be getting money back from the investors. How many years late, 10 years later, we've got nothing back? What benefit is it to us?
Oh, Mayor Phil, let's not have that
You wanna,
conversation today.
you don't wanna go down that road for
Please do not go
starters.
down that road today. I'm asking.
Well, you two, I mean, there's a signing of a non-disclosure agreement. Nobody can say anything about it. It's all confidential.
You know all about everything now.
I get information from other mayors, yes, much, but I don't know.
Well, they shouldn't be telling you that if it's a non-disclosure agreement. Then.
You know a lot about it. You haven't signed a non-disclosure.
Sure I have. I signed it when I was on the board so we could get, when we had the reps come here and talk to us, Angela Ems and Brad Herb.
But you're
Came on
not on
Zoom.
the board anymore, Counselor.
That was when I was on the board still.
Okay, you're talking the present. Okay, Counselor Schleicher's attending. Can I have a mover, please?
I don't need a resolution, do I? Because I'm on the board.
Well, it's on here for resolution.
Oh, okay.
Who made the move?
I-
Counselor Dornbos?
Second.
Deputy Mayor Marecki, all those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. What else? Okay, next item, correspondence for information. Anybody have any comments about the information items. Our letter 10.6 is on there. Selkirk got theirs at the same time, so did, I guess we all did. Withdrawal from the Manitoba Capital Region on 2050. But as the letter says, anybody can rejoin at any time. New business, RFD to adopt the Bruno Drain catchment study. Whereas the municipality issued a request for proposal, RFP 2024-03, for a detailed analysis of the Bruno Drain catchment area. And whereas RJ Burnside and Associates Limited was awarded the proposal, completed the engineering study, and has submitted the Bruno catchment area drainage study final report, which includes existing conditions, proposed solutions with cost estimates, and supporting mapping, imagery, and analysis. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Orem St. Andrews formally adopt the Bruno catchment area drainage study final report as prepared by RJ Burnside and Associates Limited to be utilized as a guiding document for future planning, design, and capital works. And further be it resolved that admin begin preparation of a development moratorium to restrict new development within areas identified as susceptible to overland flooding under the existing 10-year flood extent of the Bruno Drain catchment. Could I have a mover, please? Deputy Mayor Marecki, seconder, Councillor Mondor. Comments and questions? Councillor Hunt?
So just to comment, this is a great report and it's good to have this information. It's just that, like Brandon has said, there's lots of low areas in the RM that require work or maintenance, that kind of stuff. So this is also near Okamic Marsh, so that's why it's low, you know, and land was purchased. What do you mean, no?
Okamic Marsh isn't included in the Burnside study. We're discussing, yeah.
I know, but
Braden
it's still in that area. It may not be in the catchment area, but at some point in time, it still does make its way there.
But Braden mentioned, the
I
resolution
know.
is reading, we're adopting the Bruno Drain catchment study, not all the other low-lying areas in the
I'm
RM.
just making a comment that we have to look to the future too, and that's why I asked the question about going at it piecemeal, a little bit here and there. You're not gonna, and the other part is in the future, the whole thing depends on accepting the report. But unless we do something with Parks Creek, you know, nothing is gonna change, so.
Deputy Mayor Marecki can attest to this. I can attest to, I got on council 2014. This is how many years later that the RM has not acted on this area.
I know.
You know, at the end of the day, this area has been flood prone for, I guess, forever. I think the residents of there have deserved to have some sort of a flood mitigation. It's just such a large area. It affects so many houses. Yeah, I'm all for this.
Oh, I am too, and I agree. Just the fact of, I don't agree with starting at the beginning of the drain. You know, you start at the bottom of the drain and work your way back. But anyway, that's all. We're accepting the report, and good report is something to work with.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Oh,
By accepting this, I just want to make sure, because RM done this last time, we'll get reports, so we accept this. So then does this then allow, we have a discussion about, like you're saying, partnering with other municipalities,
Budget.
figuring out a place to start, and
Budget.
when will that happen?
well, that would be up to Braden, plus we have to look at the money value,
Mhm.
the budget. We see who we can partner with,
Yeah.
see what this is done.
We start applying for grants, we look at flood mitigation.
So this, that's all that, no, I just don't want to get lost in the shuffle, like so many former reports in the RM over the years has happened.
Madam Mayor,
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
by passing this resolution, we're not committing or being held to any of the solutions that are there. We're accepting the report and the findings that are in there and the data, like they provided all the modeling data that we have. It's not going to get lost. I'll make sure of that. But we also have the following part of the resolution to develop the moratorium piece, and that would be brought forward to council again for approval. and how that would be taken into effect at Red River Planning, right? We would likely provide them with that document. An application comes in for development in that area. Unfortunately, can't be applied for.
Wonderful, thank you.
All those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. 12.2 tax sale reserve bid. Whereas the date for the 2025 tax sale has been set for November 5th, 2025, with the public auction to commence at 10 a.m. And whereas pursuant to section 372 municipal act, municipality must set a reserve bid in the amount of the tax arrears and costs in respect of the property. Therefore, be it resolved that the Arm of St. Andrews place a reserve bid on all properties in the amount of all arrears and costs in respect to each property offered for sale at the public auction. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Doornbos, seconded by Councillor Slaker. Comments or questions? This is standard done every year. All those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. 12.3 staff holiday appreciation gift. Be it resolved that each RM of St. Andrews current working staff member receive $100 Selkirk Biz Bucks gift card in their December 12th, 2025 payroll as a holiday appreciation gift. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Doornbos, seconder. Deputy Mayor Marecki, any comments, questions? All those in favor? That is unanimous, it is carried. Council meeting date change. Be resolved that the November 11th, 2025 council meeting be hereby changed to Monday, November 10th at 5:30 due to the Remembrance Day closure. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Mondor, seconder. Councillor Feeblecoin, all those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. Be it resolved, the November 25th, 2025 council meeting be hereby changed to Monday, November 24th at 5:30 due to conflict with the annual AMM convention. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Slakers, seconded by Councillor Doornbos. All those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. 12.6. Bylaw enforcement, animal control, awarding of contract. Whereas the Arm of St. Andrews request for proposal for bylaw enforcement and animal control services closed on September 28th, 2025, with 5 proposals received. And whereas all submissions were reviewed and evaluated by the Administrative Review Committee. And whereas the committee determined that the commissioner's proposal provided the best services and value for bylaw enforcement, and RAMS provided the best service and value for animal control. Therefore, be it resolved that council authorize awarding the commissioners with the bylaw enforcement contract and RAMS with the animal control contract based on their submitted proposals and recommendation from the Administrative Review Committee. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Slaker, seconder. Councillor Mondor, comments or questions? Councillor Slaker.
Okay. I came in earlier today and looked at all these tenders that were submitted. I'm fine with the animal one, the ram one. I've been following them. They do a wonderful job. I did have a look at the 2 out of the 3 for bylaw. The one that we are looking at is cheaper on paper. Yes, it does. But that number does not include mileage, and they charge mileage from the minute they leave their point. Their office address is 870 Portage Avenue. So just a trip to Clandeboye is $53.76. So when we started, just please let me get through and I'll come back, okay? When we first won on council, the company that's being recommended was who the RM was using. And because bylaw was my heart and soul when I ran in the election, we had a lot of issues with that company. I know that the current director was not here at the time, but they delayed getting a lot of stuff done. It turned out that you never got the same person twice when we had to go and look at having an issue dealt with. There were days where the issue got postponed because they couldn't come out that day. So the, you know, the resident, we had a resident, a wonderful resident move out of our RM because that company could not accommodate what what I had set in to try to do when I won the election. I think you all know that I'm very heartful at bylaw, and I think that the RM in our 2 years, I don't count the first year, but the last 2 years has come a massive long way. I have residents thanking me for having things cleaned up, having things ordered, like it's night and day when I drive, even through my own ward, from the time of campaigning to what I see today. It's wonderful. People, when I campaigned, that was the number one thing that I learned from everybody. Was St. Andrews didn't follow bylaw, they didn't care about bylaw, nobody cared. Now, I used to hear from former councillors, because I attended meetings all the time, bylaw wasn't really an important thing to St. Andrews for a really long time. And being a resident of 20-some years, I can attest to that. I think I'm very proud to say that we have brought bylaw to the forefront. I would like to see our current director keep updating our bylaws and keep moving them forward and getting them into the 21st century. But for the price difference of $64,081.92, which didn't come with a number of hours attached to it, and that's plus mileage. So think about how big St. Andrews is, and this company coming out of Winnipeg, and it says right on their tender, the mileage starts from where they leave. So it doesn't start once they get into the RM municipality. Compared to the current person that we have submitted it.
Caution you on the amounts, the tender, none of that is included in council's package. You want, we can move this in camera.
Okay, please do. That's all right.
The committee,
No, we can move it in camera.
yeah,
Let's-
we'll have.
Why don't,
3 year olds all knew I was coming to look at the tender, so I was
Yeah, but
surprised
the rest
somebody
of
didn't
the
say
council
in camera before, but I'd appreciate that.
well,
That's
if,
fine.
Madam Mayor, if we want, not everybody had the opportunity
No.
to look at the packages. Councillor Slaker requested that, so we could put that off and call a meeting over lunch or something to review it, so everyone has a chance to look at the packages if they want.
I wouldn't want a Zoom meeting, but you can bring it back to the table, or you can move it in camera. Whatever you like, or have it in camera at the
Well,
next meeting.
We don't have this, we didn't know, we don't have anything in front of us to even go in camera with, we have no documentation.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have something to read
We
or
need something
Excel
to
sheet
read.
instead of jumping into it right away.
Sorry, folks, I
That's
just
all right.
was following it and I wanted to see the tender result, so I made arrangements to do that. And I came in and did that today.
Yeah, see, that was unknown to any other member.
We don't usually give all the packages to council.
No. No.
Councillor Slaker asked if she could look at it. I agreed to. But at this point, if it's contentious, then I think all the council should have the
Information.
opportunity to look at them. Usually
Right.
if we have something like this, we make a recommendation to council based on, in this case, the criteria. The director of, or planning, our director of planning looked at it, our deputy CAO looked at it. I looked at it, and Jordan, the director of safety, looked at it. We all did the rankings on criteria, and we all agreed that this would be our recommendation.
Marisol?
Yes.
I, thank you, Brent. I do agree with you. I don't know if it's up to council to go through every single tender that comes in, and it has to be up to administration, because we can nitpick it to death and find little things that we don't like personally, or we don't like for the RM itself. So I would hate for this to start a precedence on everything that comes through. So I'm willing to do it this time, but I don't want this to be a regular occurrence.
No. It's administration's job to, Councilor Slaker.
When I read through our tender policies and some council things I was looking at. As a councilor, we're allowed to see what tendered at any time. So if I'm incorrect, I mean, I apologize, but what I looked up in research stated, and hence that was why I sent the request to the CAO.
Well, I think it was, the tender opening. So the council, you suggested to me the council should be invited to the tender opening, but for, an RFP, I believe it is, that, that's not the case, right? That council is not required to be, or invited to, or we don't have to open them publicly for an RFP.
But how come we do for, public work?
But there's different types of, proposals out there, RFPs, RFQs, those type of things.
So, well, I fail at that knowledge, but I would like to see council have a discussion on that. Please and thank you.
Counselor Dormouse?
How long is this contract for?
2 years.
So,
Okay, so we will table this for further,
And we'll have, but we'll set a time that council could come, or if you want to come and look at the packages, you could, request, and we'll find a time for you to come and look at them and, provide the packages. What we did with Councilor Slaker is we provided the packages and she looked at them in the council chamber today.
okay,
Are we able to put this off till the next council meeting in 2 weeks?
well.
Or
it's
so it just has to
is
be done
there a
right away?
date on the,
Well, we have a date, the date was scheduled for after this meeting too.
We'll just have to
All of
those
those.
home.
that we-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
okay, so what's gonna happen, admin will send us a date, or I don't think it's appropriate that all the tender information is emailed to us.
No.
That definitely should not
We
happen.
took the packages back today.
Yeah, I don't have any paperwork.
Is it possible to hear the reports that the manager of production was gonna give to us today? And his
Yeah.
reasons for it?
Jordan can give his highlights. Yeah, I thought we would do that before, Councilor Slaker started speaking, but
Yeah, so essentially, I know Councilor Sliker had mentioned that there was no hours listed for the commissioners, but as we sit right now, we are giving Chris 32 hours. Our current contractor 32 hours. So I based all my calculations off 32 hours. So I took what the commissioners were charging, which is around 41 right now. And I, you know,
We're using dollar amounts. Well, the mayor said I couldn't use the dollar amount. That's where she got.
There's an hours, not dollar.
so anyway, 32 hours by their, whatever their rate was to get the calculation.
could you just let him do his report?
And then I took what the next closest one was, and I subtracted that difference and I got that amount, right? I also looked at what was provided in that, both the amounts, that we were provided in both the tenders, and in one, the one that we shifted to award, they provide a 6-person team, giving us a full range of management oversight as well. So there's a director, there's a manager of services, there's a supervisor of 2 officers plus a trainee, which will then turn into 3 officers, as opposed to 1 officer from the other contract that we looked at. So in looking at that, and there was quite a significant amount of difference. I know it doesn't talk about mileage, but they're only coming out when they are called upon to come out. There's also the fact that I am still here. I'm not going anywhere. Even with our current bylaw, I ensure that things are being looked at and being met after, so that doesn't change. What happens here in the RM, whatever happened in the past, I have no reports on what happened in the past, but I know one thing, I wasn't here for that. So again, my oversight is still gonna be here with that. Again, the whole thing was looked at for a value for dollar, and the value for dollar was with the commissioners that provided the best value for dollar as compared to all the rest. We can go further into this, but I don't think that doing it in this venue in camera would probably be the better way to go over more things.
Yeah.
But that was basically, what we looked at. We narrowed it down to what the price was and what we were getting for that price.
Yeah, we're concerned with, value for residents. We're always concerned about cost to residents.
Okay, yeah, are we gonna take this in camera or are we just gonna keep going?
Well, there's no point at this point until all of council has some
Right.
documentation in front of them.
These are all debates that we can hear when we're all on camera?
Yeah, because currently you're the only one that has all this information, right?
Thank you. Appreciate it immensely, everybody.
Dutch Elm Disease Program. Be it resolved that council grant a one-year extension of its contract with Green Drop for an additional term ending on September 15th, 2026, at an estimated cost of 54,540. And be it further resolved that the signing authorities for the Arm of St. Andrews be authorized to sign the Dutch Elm tree removal contract with Green Drop Limited. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Mondor, seconder. Councillor Feeblecorn, any comments or questions? All those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. In camera, be it resolved that council move in camera at 6:41 PM. To discuss matters that are in preliminary stages and respecting which discussion in public could prejudice the municipality's ability to carry out its activities or negotiations, as well as legal and personnel issues. And be it further resolved that the members of council agree to keep in confidence a matter that is discussed at a meeting that is closed to the public under section 152(3), and that the committee decides to keep confidential until the matter is discussed at a meeting of council or a committee conducted in public. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Blondor, seconder. Councillor Slaker. All those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. Please, Braden, we're in camera. Be it resolved that council move out of in camera at 7:14 PM. Could I have a mover, please? Apologies. Councillor Feeblecorn, seconder. Deputy Mayor Marecki, all those in favor? That is carried. Just so residents are aware, there's no resolution coming out from in camera, but discussion took place on the recreation site List Road. To update everyone, a stop work order was issued on any work outside the approved area. Administration will be talking to AK Soccer of the future proposed plan. Residents will be updated at the November 10th council meeting about the 2026 soccer season. Thank you. Now we have Councillor Hunt.
Yeah, we could go back to number 10, correspondence for information, and down to 10.4. Manitoba Good Roads had honorary and life member nominations. There's one there for honoring individuals who have performed distinguished service for Manitoba Good Roads Association and have worked in the industry for the past 15 years. We have Fort Distributors, Grant Daly in our municipality. The letter can go in by November 28th. They were instrumental in bringing MAG to St. Andrews 30 years ago when they first got into the industry. And over the years, we've had great service from them. I think it'd be an honor to have them nominated for honorary member.
I'm just doing up, and
If council's in agreement.
we'll do a resolution. Okay, be it resolved, for regarding item 10.4, be it resolved that Grant Ely of Fort Distributors be nominated as an honorary member of Manitoba Good Roads Association.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
Councillor Slaker, second, Councillor Hunt, all those in favor?
We'll have to add someone from
Unanimous,
admin,
that is
do a little
carried.
bio off to him. Get the
Well, you're
number.
nominating, so you could look after that.
I can give him, well, I can't write it, but I'm not a good writer. Obviously, you told me that, so. I don't
Oh, I
write good
never said
reports.
those words.
Well, anyway.
But you're
it's-
nominating him, when I've nominated anybody else, I've done it for their whole file. So if you could submit that to admin, then that can all be included what is required. Please, thank you. Adjournment. Be it resolved that the council meeting be adjourned at 7:17 PM. Could I have a mover, please? Counselor Jordan Boss, seconder. Counselor Horn, all those in favor? Unanimous, that is carried. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.